In the ever-evolving chaos of General Hospital, few storylines have generated as much emotional outrage and passionate theorizing as Willow's entanglement with Drew. What began as a seemingly redemptive love story following the heartbreak of her separation from Michael has now metastasized into something far darker, something fans increasingly liken to a psychological hostage situation. As Drew's influence over Willow deepens, many viewers feel as though they are witnessing a re-traumatization of a character who had once overcome cult manipulation, only to be ensnared again in the grip of a man whose charm veils a sinister undercurrent. The comparisons to Shiloh, the manipulative leader of the Dawn of Day cult who once controlled Willow's life, are no longer whispers among fandom communities. They've become rallying cries from fans desperate to free Willow from what they perceive to be a dangerous, emotional enslavement. The eerie parallels between Drew's current hold over Willow and her past with Shiloh are difficult to ignore. Willow once belonged to the Dawn of Day cult, where Shiloh's faux spirituality and psychological manipulation broke down her defenses and restructured her loyalty to serve his warped agenda. She escaped, eventually reclaiming her autonomy and rebuilding her life, but fans have watched with horror as those same patterns re-emerge. Willow, once strong and clear-eyed, now excuses Drew's transgressions with a blind devotion that recalls her cult days. Her resistance to any warnings from Michael or Christina only reinforces the notion that she is, once again, under the control of a man she believes can do no wrong. When Christina, herself a survivor of Shiloh's abuse, voiced her concerns to Michael in early June, fans sat up and took notice. It wasn't a throwaway line, it was a planted seed, a breadcrumb for viewers to follow. Fueling these fears is a shocking theory gaining momentum online: that Drew is not Drew at all. Instead, some fans posit that Shiloh survived his supposed death and somehow took over Drew's identity, either physically or psychologically. The theory stretches the limits of plausibility, yet in the General Hospital universe, where brain mapping, memory transfers, and back from the dead plot twists are par for the course, it isn't entirely far-fetched. According to fan speculation, the timeline between Drew's disappearance in Afghanistan and his miraculous reappearance years later provides the perfect cover for such a switch. Shiloh and Drew had history. They met during Drew's time overseas when Shiloh was still going by the name Hank. Eventually, Shiloh turned on Drew, handing him over to Helena Cassadine, who used advanced technology to wipe Drew's memory and shape him into a weapon. That technology, capable of storing and transferring memories, later became central to the Jason-Drew memory switch saga. So if Helena could transplant Drew's memories into Jason, why couldn't Shiloh, resourceful and cunning, find a way to do the reverse? One Reddit user theorized that after Drew's plane crash in 2019, Shiloh faked his own death, underwent plastic surgery, and assumed Drew's identity. The motive? To reclaim Willow, the woman he once believed was destined to raise a child with him. This theory, though fantastical, has struck a chord. As one fan noted on Facebook, it would explain why Drew has become so emotionally manipulative and obsessed with controlling Willow. That's not the Drew we knew. That's Shiloh in a Drew mask. If this theory proves true, or even if it never does but continues to shape fan perception, it represents a devastating betrayal of Willow's growth and trauma recovery. It would mean that Willow is being re-victimized by the very force she once had the strength to resist. The signs are ominous. Drew's behavior has grown increasingly coercive, cloaked in benevolence and romantic intention. He positions himself as Willow's savior, her protector, the only one who understands her, which is precisely how Shiloh drew his victims into obedience. That Willow has become emotionally estranged from Michael, her once rock-solid partner, is more than just a consequence of heartbreak. It may be the result of psychological grooming at the hands of a man who knows exactly how to dismantle her defenses. Making matters worse is the silence from those who could stop this. Nina, who holds the one truth that could shatter Drew's influence, remains paralyzed by fear. If she tells Willow that Drew slept with her while wooing Willow, she risks losing the fragile connection with her daughter she fought so hard to build. And so, Willow remains unaware, isolated in a reality curated by Drew, surrounded by people too afraid or too late to intervene. This silence is exactly what allowed Shiloh to flourish for so long. And once again, a familiar pattern unfolds. A vulnerable woman, a manipulative man, and a chorus of bystanders unwilling to speak until it's too late. The psychological implications of this storyline are vast. Willow's trauma has been weaponized, not by a new villain, but by the same archetype, perhaps even the same man. Whether Drew is truly Shiloh or merely adopting his tactics, the effect is the same. Willow's sense of autonomy has eroded, replaced by a dependence that grows more toxic with every episode. And the viewers, many of whom have invested years in Willow's journey of self-discovery and survival, are left watching helplessly as she walks back into the emotional prison she once escaped. In the world of General Hospital, where DNA swaps, secret twins, and undead villains abound, the truth about Drew may ultimately be more science fiction than psychological thriller. But even if this theory remains unproven, its persistence in fanspaces speaks volumes. Viewers see something deeply wrong in Drew's relationship with Willow, something that goes beyond romantic missteps or emotional miscommunication. They see a woman in danger, and they want her rescued, not just from the man beside her, but from the history she is being forced to relive. What happens next could redefine Drew's legacy, destroy Nina's fragile redemption arc, and push Willow into a psychological crisis more harrowing than any she has faced before. And if the unthinkable proves true, if Drew is, in some way, Shiloh reborn, then General Hospital will have orchestrated one of the most chilling long game reveals in soap opera history. Until then, the mystery grows deeper, the theories darker, and the cries for Willow's freedom louder.